June 12, 2024. The Greek-owned and Liberian-flagged bulk carrier MV Tutor was attacked by Houthi forces in the Red Sea via an unmanned surface vessel and an anti-ship ballistic missile. The attack killed a Filipino crewman and severely damaged the Tutor. The surviving crew was evacuated by U.S. forces, and on June 18th, the stricken vessel finally sunk due to the damage, becoming the second vessel sunk by Houthi forces since their attacks began in October of last year. In this video, I want to examine the attack on the Tutor, as well as attacks on other vessels recently, and to look at the overall campaign in the Red Sea at this point. First, let's examine some of the footage from on board the Tutor, as well as footage from the Houthis themselves showing the attack on June 12th. The footage from on board the Tutor shows the approach of a small boat that on closer inspection appears to be a flat-bottomed skiff with an outboard motor. In addition, there are two mannequins on the boat, as well as what appears to be a camera or cameras on the front of the boat. No visible weapons are on board, and the exact payload of the vessel is unknown. One of the biggest questions from this has been about why the onboard security didn't engage the vessel while it approached. They were clearly armed, and one of the members of the security team utilized binoculars that should have allowed them to ascertain the fact that there were mannequins on board and that it wasn't manned. It's hard to speculate as to why they didn't engage the boat. It's possible it was an issue with their rules of engagement. The Houthis also released their own footage of the attack, showing the detonation of the unmanned vessel towards the stern, as well as the detonation of what is likely the anti-ship ballistic missile. It's unclear what the explosions towards the end of the video are from. Images from inside the ship show the extent of the flooding and damage that was done to the Tutor. The crew was evacuated by the guided missile cruiser USS Philippine Sea, and the Tutor was then left abandoned. On June 18th, it was reported by the UKMTO that the Tutor was believed to have been sunk based on debris in the area that it was last seen. This was confirmed by satellite imagery provided by SynMax Maritime. The Tutor is now the second ship sunk by Houthi forces since beginning their attacks in October. The Tutor is also much larger than the Rubimar that was sunk in March. The Rubimar was 561 feet long with a deadweight tonnage of just over 32,000 and was carrying a cargo of fertilizer, whereas the Tutor was 751 feet long with a deadweight tonnage of a little over 82,000. The Tutor was also carrying a load of coal from Russia to India. The death of a Filipino sailor on Tutor marks the first loss of life since March 6th, when 3 sailors were killed aboard the True Confidence when it was struck by a Houthi missile, bringing the death toll from direct Houthi action to 4. I also want to note that on June 13th, the Houthis struck another bulk carrier, the MV Verbena, that started fires so intense that the crew were forced to abandon ship, with one of the crew members requiring evacuation by U.S. forces due to their injuries. That ship is still currently adrift as of the making of this video. I now want to take a look at the status of the conflict in the Red Sea. Since October, the U.S. has deployed numerous assets to the Red Sea, most notably the USS Eisenhower as the flagship of Carrier Strike Group 2 that has now been moved out of the Red Sea and into the Eastern Mediterranean due to the possibility of an Israeli war against Hezbollah, but it should be returning to the United States soon. The Ike and her escorts have been replaced by Carrier Strike Group 9 with the USS Theodore Roosevelt as its flagship. Now this graphic by IntelSchizo that was made using available information from U.S. Central Command and others shows the extent of the U.S. and other Western nations' campaign against the Houthis. Despite the massive losses and materiel inflicted on the Houthis, they still continue to launch attacks. The U.S. has also intercepted several small dhows that were caught transporting weapons and parts to Yemen, but clearly the Houthis are either still getting resupplied, have considerable stockpiles left, or are producing some of their weaponry domestically. The campaign in the Red Sea has also cost the U.S. nearly $1 billion, according to an article by The Hill. Carrier Strike Group 2 had also logged 30,000 flight hours and traveled a combined 55,000 miles during their deployment. In addition, 3 MQ-9 Reaper drones have been shot down by Houthi forces while flying over Yemen. Each of these drones comes with a $30 million price tag. Most importantly, 3 American sailors have died during operations in the Red Sea. 2 Navy SEALs who died after falling overboard while boarding a dhow believed to be smuggling weapons, and a sailor from the USS Mason who died after going missing at sea. The exact circumstances of his death are not publicly known. Another interesting note that was pointed out in an article by the Telegraph is that the US Navy has not deployed any of its littoral combat ships, the Freedom and Independence classes, to the Red Sea, despite the fact that those ships were supposed to have been designed specifically for this type of war. It further cements that the LCS program is a failure. For now, it does appear that attacks will continue as long as the Israeli war in Gaza continues, unless the US steps up to a more intense campaign against the Houthis. Regardless, something needs to change with US strategy in the region. Houthi attacks continue to damage and sink ships, and insurance premiums are skyrocketing. Meanwhile, companies continue to reroute their ships around southern Africa to reach Asia, which will ultimately cause prices to continue to rise. I hope you found this video informative, and if you did, please leave a like, and I'll see you on the next one.